Good evening, Carol Martinez, 30 Emerald Street, Hackensack. I am speaking as a community member, not as a board member. I just want to make sure you state that. Let me get my notes real quick. I read the article that took place, I believe, on the 9th of November, and I was very unhappy with the content of it. I will address that article on the 18th, next Monday, as a board member. So if anyone is interested to go, I invite you to go. Last night there was a Buildings and Grounds Committee, and there was some discussions that took place, and I will address that as a board member as well. Last night I emailed the president of the board, and I requested for the city manager to be present, as well as Director Mordaga and Officer Malvasia, or Detective Malvasia, to be present. There are some questions that need to be clarified on my part as a board member, and also I think that based on the article, information was not given accurately. Information is missing, and being that we are trying to, in my opinion, bring the city together, you know, we need to be transparent to the community, especially when it deals with something such as taxpayers' money. So that will take place on the 18th. I also feel that it will be a great idea to have a committee where we have a few board members as well as city council members and a few key members of the community, so we can bring the community together. The district is not a separate entity from city council. I mean, it's one city, and I think that we need to work together, and I think it could happen as long as we have the right people on board. And let me see, anything else? I did email the reporter who wrote the article on the last week. I wasn't happy with the response. I would like to say that, you know, when such thing is written, homework needs to be done, and especially when it involves a lot of people. So I was very offended on many things that were written. So I did email that reporter. I wasn't happy with the response that I got. But then again, I kind of expected that many people are controlled, the media is controlled, you know. So that's why we need to do our research. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Anyone else from the public like to come up and speak? Now is your time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Paul Incalcaterra. I'm a resident 43 Broadway.
How are you, sir?
Okay, First Ward. I'd like to first of all say that we've gotten a lot better in the First Ward with the speeders, but the problem still exists. I've asked Mr. Scrivo, I think the last time I was here, about the legality of speed bumps. Speed bumps that can be either removed or not be permanent. We are still getting speeders there. Remember that that is a school zone, and that there are little ones there who come out periodically on the sidewalk. And the other day I have to say that there was a bus that was a public bus for taking the students back and forth. I don't think it was for the students that particular time, but zooming by, probably doing 35, 40 miles an hour. I said, I can't believe it, you know. So I'm going to ask you again that, you know, I'm going to get the people from the First Ward to come and speak, and I've spoken to them before, and they say, you know, yes, it's a good idea. And the mayor and council, they should be aware that that is now a public school, and that we need a resolution to slow down these SOBs. Something has to be done. I know it's a problem with the wintertime that sometimes the snow plows may have that, but maybe they can be taken out in the wintertime. And I know there are certain districts, certain areas that have those rubber bumpers that we need to put in place. So I'm going to keep coming back and going to keep requesting it. So the thing that is important is that safety, and that people abide by the rules. Again, I have to say, it has improved since we have the writing on the street and the signs that say 25 miles per hour. So that's a good thing.
And
These-
there's
yes.
been a significant uptick in the number of citations this year.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
I discussed that with
Yeah.
Director Mordecai.
Well, I spoke to Mr. Mordega, or Mr. Mordega spoke at first block meeting, and he said that the arrests have gone way up. So that's good. If they're not obeying the rules, they should be given a ticket. Teach them something. That's the way I look at
And
it.
that's happening. So.
You know, okay, that's good. The other thing I would like to request is also the camera on Hudson Street and Jackson Avenue. I went for a haircut about 7 or 8 days ago. As I was coming out of the haircutting salon on Hudson Street, I made a right, started to walk down Hudson Street, and there was a gentleman coming down my way, and I went to say hello to him, and he said to me, "Did you see that?" I says, "No." At the bus stop, there was a guy urinating.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a little area there where just before the bus stop is, there's a doorway, and when I went by, I saw now I didn't have my cell phone on with me, and I did see him walk down towards East Broadway. When they go towards East Broadway, I have a tendency to think that those are the individuals who need help. But I think a camera really needs to be put in that area.
Okay.
So I'm going to request that. And one last thing that I want to ask, there was a problem on Broadway and New Street where the city people, I think, were examining the sewers. And this camera got stuck. They couldn't get the camera out. So somewhere between 4 o'clock and 7:45, they had to excavate the ground, bring I think, Kramer in, and take out the camera. And my question is there an insurance policy that pays for a mistake like that?
That was not the city. That was an outside contractor, and that was all on him.
It was all paid for?
Yeah, we don't do our own camera. We bring somebody else to
Okay,
camera.
so and citizens don't have to
That
pay for
didn't
that?
cost us anything.
Oh, okay,
Well,
that-
it cost us for the camera work. What
The
it
camera
would
work.
normally cost, but that fact that it got stuck and all was not our.
The city didn't have to pay for that?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
that's a good thing. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Steve, have we ever tried putting the speed limit trailer down there? I know we have one.
The sign, the variable sign?
Yeah,
Down on, I'm
there?
not sure if the director did that, I can double check, but there's
Might be
been,
worth a
there's
try.
been a focus on the speeding problem down
Yeah.
there, but I'll reinforce it with.
never had one down there? Maybe we should throw one down there for a month, see what happens.
Yeah.
By the school.
The variable seat sign.
Yep,
I'll mention that to him.
thanks.
Good evening, City Manager, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Danny Ferretti, 160 Union Street, Hackensack, New Jersey, in representation of Ferretti Karting and the Ferretti organizations. I've had some of our associates that work in the office monitor the council meetings due to the fact that we've heard there's been some concern over the trucks, the parking, which, Mr. Mayor, when you were a council member, we were here about a year ago, I guess it was. There was a concerned citizen at that time, which we addressed and resolved effectively, immediately with them. And at that point in time, we had mentioned that if there's any further concern, to feel free to contact us. Shortly thereafter, City Manager Al Borelli and Dean Natalia and myself, my council, we had a meeting and had a very effective conversation, I think, at that time, which we set some boundaries and some forward motion plans to move forward, obviously with the flow of the city, the neighbors, and to resolve any concerns that may erupt in the near future. It's been brought to my attention that there was some residents over the last couple months that came in, I believe it was 2, 3, 4, that had concerns about the truck parking, and they made some allegations about safety and hazards with these trucks in that area. Some of which those residents had moved in the area in the late 2000s which obviously, if you do know or don't know, we've been in the area for probably over the last 80 years, which I brought a picture actually for city manager tonight to pass forward. That's a picture of my grandfather, my father, 1930s, with one of our earlier year trucks, just to show some precedence that we've been in the neighborhood since we obviously had chickens. Chickens are gone, but the trucks remain. In conclusion to this, we sent a letter in to the city manager, the borough attorney, as well as the zoning department, requesting another meeting and to clear up some of the violations we have, because we've been receiving a large sum of violations, some of which we feel, or council for Ferretti feels, don't pertain to our application. Some of the summonses we feel are written out of texture to what's currently going on. Some, we could be at fault for. Currently, the attorney for Ferretti is handling the violations with Miss Pizzillo, I think it is, in the court department. But we would like to, once we get that resolved, meet with the zoning officer, Al Borelli, again, possibly the city manager, and whatever necessary departments we need to meet with, because obviously moving forward, we want to be a good neighbor. But it seems to me that every time that we get a new neighbor or somebody that gets disturbed by our application, they come to the city council instead of coming to us, and they try to alter us by using the city as a wedge to enforce us via the police department, via the council. And based upon the review of the tapes and the minutes of the meeting, the members that came up here to address the council never once came to our doorstep to address us. So I feel that's a little bit putting the cart before the horse, if I may. If there's a problem with a neighbor, you come knock on the door and you say, geez, your car is blocking my driveway, vice versa, your truck's in my area, could you move it? It just seems that they come up and the allegations that are being made aren't completely truthful. And obviously we want to have a good relationship in the city. We're not looking to take legal action at this time to pursue our rights, but we are looking to maintain and get everybody on board with the same forward path to work together. That's our intention. Sometimes in a city this big, it's like a dinosaur. The head doesn't know where the tail is. The police department have a feeling they should be writing summonses for vehicles that are in our area, which is actually a multi-use zone. City manager's aware it's an RB or R3B, which is a business, offices, residential in that whole area. Right outside of our zone is an M1 zone, which is manufacturing one. And obviously, as mayor and council, this is a city. And in any city, whether it be city of Hackensack, city of Newark, Trenton, New York City, there's multiple applications which prevail. There's construction companies, there's garbage companies, there's attorneys, there's doctors, residents, and so on and so forth. But it just seems to be that every time we have a resident that moves in the area and decides that they don't like garbage trucks, or they don't like construction equipment, or they don't like vehicles operating at certain hours of the day, which we've been doing for over the last 80 years, and there's more than a half a dozen people in this room that could probably verify a good part of what I just said. It puts us in a gray area, because once we get backed into a corner, we have no other way to get out except claw our way out. And we want to be a good neighbor. And I actually commend you, Mr. Mayor, because I did personally review the tape from the last meeting where you had spoken to these people, and you're aware of our situation, obviously. Mm-hmm. And you exhibited some of the concerns they had about the diesel trucks, and the concerns of the application, the concerns of our operation. And believe it, we're not looking to be a bad neighbor. Our trucks, we try to keep them within our house until 6 o'clock in the morning. We ain't starting at 3:30 in the morning. We have no intention of doing that. sometimes we have to leave at 5:30, or if it's an overnight snowstorm and we have to pull a loader out or something to that effect, we'll try to go at that hour. You know, if it's something that pertains to a day-to-day operation, they made a comment about the safety of the children. And I can proudly say, we've been there over 60 years coming in on Union Street, and we've never had an interaction with a child once. And I know there was some question and concern about the grandfathering and increase of vehicles that were there. Back in 1980, just to give the council and some of the members a little bit of history, back in the 80s, my father was running 22 trucks out of that location, 7 days a week. We were taking in 5 to 10 53-foot trailers of recyclable merchandise, whether it been metal, boilers, refrigerators, that were there every day, 6 days a week. We were operating almost 19 hours a day. Currently, we're operating 6 to 10 trucks at that location. Currently in my fleet, I have 45. And they're housed anywhere from Boston, Massachusetts to Baltimore, Maryland, which we have satellite locations. But we do not run 45 trucks out of there. And we're trying to keep this location to be utilized to a select minimum to alleviate what we're doing. Now, just in retrospect, the city's changed direction in some course. We understand that. You know, south on Union Street, south of Meyer, down to Essex, there were 4 single and double family homes that are now 30 family buildings, 30 families. And the residents seem to focus on the point that the company is growing. And I understand the mayor and council, you endorse business in Hackensack. But as my company grows, we also employ city residents. And within those employments of city residents, we have probably over 20 members of our team that are city residents employed by Ferretti, which we do give jobs to the community. And we do better the community by giving these people jobs. But it just confuses me as a business owner and not being as educated as I should be, or to the point that I understand the city's changing direction, but we still have to survive. We have a right to survive. We're a taxpayer. We've been a taxpayer. We've been an operational organization to this capacity for years and years and years and years. And if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to meet with any team member from the mayor and council to discuss this further. We try not to utilize the fact that, you know, to run the 24 hours, which we could as a truck terminal grandfathered in the city. We try not to utilize the overnight hours to be respectful to some of these residents. But within saying that, some of these residents moved in 3 years ago, and they're complaining about my application. Well, if you didn't want to live in a city, or you didn't want to live in a mixed-use zone, you should have moved to Prospect Ave. You should have moved to a zone that was applied to be just strictly residential. But you can't move somewhere and try to redirect the businesses that are there and restrict them from doing business because it doesn't fit your personal schedule. And one of the biggest problems that I have, and my council feels that we have with some of the residents, is that some of the allegations that were made were false. Some of them were defaming the name of the organization of Ferretti. We don't want to pursue legal action against these residents. But if they have an actual complaint, state the complaint. By coming to the mayor and council and intimidating them and by saying, are they invincible? We're not invincible. We're a block away. We get summonses, probably more than most, because once they do complain, enforcement is increased by 10%. And if I could probably tell you, I'm probably on record for receiving the most tickets per month in the city on certain areas because officers feel the need that once there's a complaint, they have to enforce and target those vehicles. And not that all officers are doing it, but traffic, we met with the sergeants and the patrolmen in traffic. They showed us where we could park our vehicles. We did. A week later, there's officers that aren't aware of what we met with those sergeants, and they're writing us summonses on them. So it's kind of a gray area, because when I meet with the superior and they give us a directive, a week later, a patrolman's writing us tickets, and when I say, "Oh wait, call your super, call them up. They told us we could park here." They say, "Deal with it in court, not my problem. Ticket," and that's it. So we did speak to Mike Mordaga in regards to this. He asked us to compile a letter to try to reconcile some of the summonses and be able to show what we feel didn't hold valor, and try to get that resolved. Our council feels that we want to move forward in the best interest of the city to work with you. But again, we're a blue-collar company. We're going to maintain a relationship in the city, but we want to maintain a good relationship with our neighbors. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time.
And thank you. Unfortunately, because you're in municipal court right now, we're not gonna comment back with you on this, but,
Okay.
once that's all cleared up, you need to meet
Okay.
with the city manager and
Sure.
whoever else
Yeah,
forward.
that would be great. And just to give you an update, our attorney is handling the municipal court traffic violations. The zoning violations, that they feel could be in question are debatable by far. And that will be addressed as well. But I think that we need to set some kind of plateau moving forward with the city manager, with the police department, to move forward where we're all on the same page. And again, the last meeting we had, it seemed to work out very well, because things that we didn't know or we were unaware of, we were made aware of by the city manager. And I believe that meeting went very well. Steve, you were part of it?
We had peace for a while after that.
Very, very, very long time.
I remember.
And now, because we have a couple of concerned people in regards to this, sorry.
No, but you're way past your
Okay.
5-minute limit, and we got a lot of people, and it's late. I'm sorry, Dan.
Blanche Stewart, 252 3rd Street. I was just getting ready to ask what
Oh,
happened
wait
to
one
the
second.
egg
I'm sorry.
timer.
I'm sorry, wait 1 second, he needs to change the tape.
Anna Stewart.
Nope,
Ron.
Blanche Stewart, 252 3rd Street, Hackensack. I do appreciate that Mr. Ferretti does employ a lot of Hackensack people, and I'm not a resident in that area, but I have come out of Seatown, down that street, and attempted to make a right turn onto Union Street. The trucks are parked too close to the corner on both sides, so you pretty much have to move out into the middle of the intersection. By that time, there are cars coming at you from both sides. So maybe he could take into consideration to either not having them parked that close to the corner or not standing on that street. I mean, what's fair for him is also fair for us. I understand what he's saying about, they've been there for 80 years, and that's understandable, and that they don't go out until 6 o'clock. But when you're out at 3 o'clock and it's dangerous for me in a car, you have to take those things into consideration. But what I do appreciate is that he offered and wants to meet with the city and the city manager and looking for a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Regina DePasqua, Parker Avenue. I have a couple of personal things, and it's not my ivy and it's not my garage roof. Every year I wonder why we even do a schedule for leaf pickup. Because my neighborhood was a couple weeks ago. People put it out, blown around all over. They came to pick up last week, which was Route 7, 8, and 9. I'm Route 3. Okay, so by the time they came, the leaves were no longer in the street. And now I'm wondering, we only have one more pickup for my route. Is it going to be on the week it's supposed to be? Or is it going to be the 7, 8, and 9 week like it was? It happens every year. And I don't know why. They go through making this schedule, and it just never works out that way. But I don't know, I think I'm gonna bag my leaves, just forget it, because I can't count on the route. I can't count on it. And like I said, the truck and the front loader were on my street last week. And I'm like, why are they here now? When I looked at the calendar, it was 7, 8, and 9 routes. So anyway, the other thing, a few weeks ago, the county, I guess, is doing those, the handicap at the corners,
It's a joint
path.
project with the city and county.
Okay, I don't understand why they were redoing the ones at Essex and Summit. And I really was upset when they popped a gas main, okay? I was really super upset when traffic put all the traffic from Summit Avenue down my street, down Parker Avenue. Rather than Mary Street, rather than, you know, direct them further down Summit, all of Summit Avenue came down my street. Fortunately, somebody was home at my house and told me, my oldest son was home, he said, don't come near here. You can't get here. And he had to go to physical therapy for his knee. Poor guy had to walk down the hill to meet me to take him to physical therapy. But can you imagine that? All of Summit Avenue coming down your street, when there are cars parked on both sides? I didn't understand the planning on that. I mean, that day was like a miracle that I was down by, I had my son meet me down by CVS. He had to walk down the hill, and then I had to get across town to take him to physical therapy. And even by the time I came back, like an hour and a half later, it was still pretty much backed up. But I just did not understand the theory of just putting a car right at Parker Avenue in Summit and say, everybody from Summit, go down this street. You've been down my street. It's not very wide. Buses going down my street. It was, I don't know where the thought
I
process.
think all those blocks though are essentially saying somebody's gonna have to take that pain.
Mary Street is nice and wide. Mary Street, and it comes right down Prospect. That would have been the perfect place to block it. And if anybody lived in, you know, our neighborhood, you could get past it. But Mary Street is triple of what, especially at Summit Avenue there, triple of what Parker, and no cars parked on either side. My street has cars on either side. It was a nightmare. You could not move. I mean, a bus, can you imagine, even without two-way traffic, a bus going down Parker Avenue?
You know, Regina, I'm sure that the traffic department, traffic division, makes decisions based on whatever professional judgments they make. I really can't answer for that. I'll inquire about it. But these are people who are skilled at what they do.
But it's not the first time it happened when they were putting that wall up on Summit. And we got no warning. And all of a sudden, and it wasn't an emergency, this was a planned thing, all of a sudden we can't get out of our driveways in the morning because all of Summit Avenue is coming down Parker. It's the route they choose. They choose this. It's not just, and it makes no sense when Mary Street, which goes to Prospect, which is wider than Parker, which could handle a bus, Parker Avenue cannot handle a bus. It just can't.
Can you just contact traffic and see why they're using Parker?
Yeah, it happened at least twice. Once was planned, and this one was an emergency, but I know a lot of people were inconvenienced, but I don't think a lot of people had Summit Avenue coming down their block. And it was my block because I'm between Summit and Prospect, and then they went on to Prospect. They didn't go further down Parker, they went on to Prospect, so guide them on to Prospect in the first place.
You're the second block in.
Yeah, second block.
They use Kaplan then.
Right, they didn't use Kaplan, they used Parker. I'm not taking it personally. Yeah, Regina's house. Could have caught a bus right
Yes,
before
sir.
my house.
Good evening,
Good evening. How are you?
Council. My name is Joe Carter. I'm at 159 Union Street in Hackensack down the street. I'm right across from the Ferretti's. I've been there since 1998. And I'm not really prepared to talk. I was really coming in just to kind of sit down because I'm so close to where this thing is going on. And I've had an opportunity, being I'm a barber in the area so long, to talk to a lot of the residents in that area. And I get a lot of different information about how people feel about the whole entire neighborhood, the entire neighborhood. My customers have a hard time finding park spaces. Tuesday, I believe it would be the the west side. There's no parking, and then on Friday the east side is no parking. So it's really hard for parking.
Mr. Carter, is that all day or just for part of the day?
It
street
starts in the morning on Tuesday at I think at 7 o'clock,
Okay,
and it ends at maybe
11?
yeah, and then Friday is somewhere just like that.
Okay.
Well, my responsibility to my customers is to accommodate them as best as possible. So if they come and they park in front of the store and they put the hazard lights on, they say, well, where do I park? I say, I'll just drive around a little bit more. Maybe got to go around the block to Railroad and come down Gainwell. Maybe go down Union, and then you can find the parking space before you get to Myers Street, and maybe get some exercise, and then we'll get the haircut in 20 minutes and get you out of here. And then I have a good relationship with most all of the neighbors in the area, and I point out to the neighbors, just like I call him Danny Ferretti said, that it's a growing neighborhood. We have a landscaping company. We have 2 small construction companies, 2 truck companies, and the tree cutting company on Myers Street. And then we have it's a commercial / residential area. And I always try to emphasize to people that we should really try to just talk to each other. And that way we could resolve a lot more things. Because if we don't communicate at a high level, then it's really going to be hard to effectively accommodate us. You have the 160, they have the buses that go to New York from State Street. So I open up on Sundays at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you'll see people coming in with out-of-state plates to get on those buses, and out-of-area cars. They're not residential cars. Once the residents leave to go to work, then the people that get on the bus park in the areas. And so by the time they get off from work, there's no parks because people didn't get off the bus at 6, 7 o'clock to go home yet. So it's really a congested area. It's getting more congested. But I just feel like, and I'm really not prepared to talk, but I'm just listening to everything tonight. It's only 2 people that have talked, but I just really think that I think the ultimate thing is that people just gotta just kind of talk a little bit more, because it's really hard to find parking spaces there. It really is. It's hard to find parking spaces. It's very congested. A lot of tickets being given out. But it's just because there's just not enough parking more than anything else. And I'm really not prepared to talk, but I just figured since I sat in here, I gotta watch one of my customers is gonna be on TV tonight. So I gotta be home by 10 o'clock on Channel 2. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Okay, Kathleen Salvo, 184 Hudson Street again. Hello again. Just quickly about that area, and I wasn't going to say it, but I am. Myers Street, they have heavy-duty equipment. So one of their pieces of equipment is like 100 feet long. It's a truck with a trailer with something else attached. I never saw anything so long. And it takes the whole street. So you're talking about, it's taking a spot for like 6 or 7 cars. And they do have on-site parking. I don't even know why they let them stay on that street so long. And remember, that's going to be where your new apartments are. So you can look out and see those trucks, and they're there overnight lots of times, too close to that stop sign. So that needs to be monitored. Quickly, I just want to tell you about the famous pole on 151 Prospect. Mr. Battaglia asked me to take care of it, and I did. But I understood there was a letter written to the council by an attorney. Don't give him credit, and I hope he didn't charge the people for it, because really it's up to the residents and public service to take care of it. It had no business even coming in front of the mayor and council, because it's a personal thing. But not the day after the meeting, but the very next day, we met on a Wednesday, what was the last council meeting? Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I didn't take care of it the next day, but the very next day, because I had it all scheduled. They removed all the wires that were on the old pole, put them on the new pole, and then on Monday, the old pole was removed. And that was done through Verizon, and that's heavy-duty scheduling, because they usually take months to do that. So the people on Prospect Street should be very happy. But the other thing is that it is dark, and we need to change. I think John Flanagan made a recommendation to public service to change the light heads to give us the biggest bulbs, which there are three sizes. There's a donut, there's a medium-sized donut, and then there's one that does the circumference of the light head. And it's not just changing the bulbs, that would be too easy. They're not universal, they have to change the whole light head. So because that street is so wide, it requires more lighting, and two of those lights are donuts, and they shouldn't be. So John Flanagan and I talked about it, and he said he was going to call Public Service, our Secaucus depot that we deal with, and ask to put bigger light heads on those lights so that you do have more lighting. The leave schedule is a joke. I don't know why they bother publishing it. We go through this every year. People spend a lot of time and a lot of energy to put those leaves in front of their house, knowing they're going to be picked up that day, and then they blow back. So either if you don't wet them, you do all that energy is going towards making a pile, and then a wind comes and all your work is done in vain. So if we do put out a schedule, somebody should be responsible to pick those leaves up when they say they're going to be picked up. And I went through this last year. The same thing happened because it's not being addressed. The camera we've been asking for a couple of years now. We still have these problems. A camera would really be beneficial now that we're not paying the rent for the facility on the corner of Hudson and Jackson Avenue. It would be nice to spend that money towards putting a camera there. There's a lot of activity, 24 hours a day on that block, and it would be very beneficial. We have more police protection. We are happy about that, but again, they can't be there all at 24/7, and a camera would really be beneficial. The garbage collection. Nobody told us that it was going to be stopped until that one day everybody was calling, and then they recognized that last day and they did come to pick it up. But I think now that we're doing this cleanup on the first ward, that you might consider doing it all year round, because in the summer it smells, I know, but in the winter, because of the multifamily, all the people that are there, the high density of the area, they do generate a lot of garbage. And it looks so bad on Monday morning when those cars pass by and see garbage lined up from curb to curb. So it wouldn't be a lot, it would just be the people who would choose to put it in because the volume is so much that they would pick it up, twice during the whole course of the year. And since we do it for the other town, it would be nice to do it for Hackensack because we do have a lot of garbage. I had occasion to take a river cruise with the river keeper a couple Saturdays ago to see the river, how it looks from the coastline as opposed to the landline. It was very interesting, and I did get involved. They wanted somebody. Debbie Keeling called me if I would do it, and I'd be happy to do it. They didn't have anybody representing Hackensack for the flooding, so I've already been to 2 meetings, and I told Mr. Liacono, I just said before, I got us invited to the meeting tomorrow, so I hope that we could be part of it, because one of your campaign promises was to try to do something about the flooding. And since NJIT is working on it, the EPA is working on it, we need to be part of it so that we can give recommendations or get recommendations as to what these problems are. And it was interesting to see that it's at its lowest point, its most shallow point, at Skinny Park. And I think that's all our fields, that every time it floods, our fields go into the river. So I don't know if we need to, to dredge that, but there's more, we're getting more of an input of what's happening. Thank you.
Can I clarify something?
Sure.
Not to encourage you, Mrs. Salva.
Yes.
Who is the attorney who should not get paid, and by whom?
Oh, they said that Joe Ziza wrote a letter to the city council asking them to do something for public service. The people that, he's not here tonight, the gentleman that wanted the pole done from that building, from 151. The community,
the board.
They're not the board, they're people that belong to it, the organization that belongs to 151. They made the attorney write a letter to the mayor and council.
So
the mayor and council,
you should get paid.
I shouldn't get paid, but I don't want them, because I do a lot of work. I did a lot of stuff for him, and he gets
I'm
paid.
joking.
No, they should not pay him extra for it because it had nothing to do.
But if they feel like paying, they should.
They did pay him for the letter because he does nothing. He gets paid for everything he does. So I'm sure he got paid for writing that letter. But I only did it because Leo asked me to do it, and he knows I know public service. So I took it upon myself to do it. But I don't want him to get paid extra because it wasn't his doings.
Thank you so
And I don't want to get paid, I don't want him to get paid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public have comment?
I just want to put a note that Chalk on Meyer Street's not Ferretti.
No, it's not, it's all
Same kind of
construction.
template.
No, okay, noted. Noted. Seeing none, motion to close the meeting to the public,
I'll offer.
offered,
Second?
roll call.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino? Aye. Councilwoman Greenman?
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus?
Aye. Before we, necessary for us to go into closed sessions, we have some more stuff to work on. Before then, any comments from the council?
It's really late, so I'll keep it very brief. Glad to see folks come out. Happy to have you here tonight. Sorry it's such a long and late night for you all. Heard some interesting comments, lots of folks talking about working together, and that's what it's all about. That's what the community is all about. Ms. Martinez talked about the council and the Board of Ed working together, and that's something we're all looking forward to have quick resolutions of whatever issues we have there. Talking about residential problems and problems within the city. I think bringing solutions to us is a great idea. When we all have our problems and we're here and that's what we want to listen to, and sometimes we can come up or try to come up with solutions, but frequently the folks that live in that area have the best answers. Okay, if you work together, you put your heads together, you have the best answers, and come and present them to us, and let's hope we can all work together and have a quick resolution. Thanks for coming, folks.
Ms. Grayman?
Yep. Thank you so much for coming and supporting us, even your comments, and even if you don't agree with us, it's still support. That's what I consider support. It's the criticism that you give us is something that is positive. Thank you so much. Enjoy the weather. To the extent that you can. Some people like winters.
Okay. Been a rough couple of weeks, the council. I want to thank the council and city manager, administration, legal. It's been a crazy few weeks between the SRO situation and Mr. Brady's situation. It's been putting out fires. I'm truly amazed at how something could spread like this did. I heard today that this was the #2 story in the country, right behind the Miami Dolphins incident, which totally amazes me. But it's a stressful time. It's hard for the city. It's tough on the citizens. It's tough on the council. It's tough on everybody, the employees. But we work together. We're getting through it, right? And hopefully tomorrow, Governor Christie can do something to help Mr. Brady's situation. Again, like I mentioned before, my concern with him is, he's a pretty private guy, and I've got reporters asking me his home address so they can go, this man just wants to get on with his life, all right? Doesn't want to be bothered, and he's a good man. He did the right thing, and it's almost a shame that this really had to happen to him. I'm sure there's probably a couple times already he's cursed finding that money, or he's cursed the day he found the money. Councilman Sims ought to leave early. Left me this flyer, wanted me to mention real quick. There's a video game meetup, Hackensack Civic Center, 65 Central Avenue. November 16th, which is this Saturday, I believe, correct?
Yep.
It's a video game expose, it looks like, where the kids who like to play video games, or young adults, whatever, old adults, whoever likes video games could go, you can play up to 8 hours, or it looks like it's $20, and looks like there's all kinds of neat stuff, but
Run by the basketball league.
it's being run by his basketball league, so I'm sure it's probably a fundraiser of some type, which is good because it goes to the kids and it goes towards scholarships. So pass it on if anybody knows any video game players. And that's it. Everybody have a safe trip home. Thank you for coming.
We need a motion to.
Yes, I need a motion to go into the back room.
Second?
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino? Councilwoman Greenman?
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus?
Okay. Aye.